What's cracking, guys? Serious here. And in today's video, we're going to do a little bit of a video response to a user by the name of Marina Shut Up. I think it's very appropriate. With that being said, let's go.
But what about the men?
Yeah, that's a very good question. What about the other half of the entire population that built civilization as you know it?
Whatever will they do? Let's clear up some misconceptions. We're going to talk about feminism, aka everyone's favorite subject.
The sarcasm is strong in this one.
Often when someone tries to have a conversation about feminism, the question, but how does this affect men, is brought up before a conversation is even allowed to begin.
That's not true. Usually when people have a conversation about feminism, it's more or less towards the very end of the conversation will someone say, what about the men? The reason why I say towards the very end of the conversation, because that's usually the point where all feminists decide to stop the conversation right there and go off on a tirade. Usually when people ask what about the men, it's because the feminists have been going on and on about problems that only affect women. So then in response, some people who are genuinely trying to get into the movement might ask, what about the men? Or some men's rights activists will say, what about the men? I think usually they're more trolling than anything else, but that's usually what happens. Like, people don't ask what about the men before the conversation on feminism begins. So,
if feminism is supposedly about equal rights, then why is it that it only focuses on the problems that women face?
that's a pretty good question to ask.
What about men's problems? What about me?
What if the person that asked that question was a woman? Well, then how could it be about her if they're talking about men? Unless, no, I'm not even going to go there. Let's keep going.
These are all questions that are about to be answered, dear viewer. Just you wait.
I certainly look forward to being enlightened.
Feminism is sexist. It's in the name. Feminism. Fem. Ism. The reason that feminism is primarily concerned with sexism that women face, and not so much that men face, is because women are the minority or the oppressed group.
Well, apparently she doesn't understand what demographics are because, half of something literally cannot be the minority of the other half of something. If women make up, actually, a little slightly over half the population of men in the United States, then by definition, they are not the minority. Even still, women aren't a class, so they can't be a minority.
For something to be considered oppression, it needs to have three components.
I'm listening.
It's in the national consciousness of the dominant culture.
Go on.
It's reinforced through the institutions of society.
Reinforced in the institutions. Continue, please.
And there's an imbalance of economic, social, and political power.
Imbalance. Okay, got it. Based on your criteria for oppression, women aren't oppressed. Okay, I've been saying this on my channel for weeks now, and I'm gonna keep saying this until I start hearing other people say this on their channels too. But women have complete control over the social sphere. So that aspect of oppression just flies straight out the window. Again, you can't even get upset at a woman in public. You can't put your hands on a woman. You can't do much of anything to a woman. There's literally laws, domestic violence laws. It's called the Violence Against Women Act, just in case you guys haven't heard of that. It's only been ratified for like the last couple of decades. But yeah, there are laws prohibiting violence against women. How in the world can they still be oppressed when the government literally set up laws to protect them?
I would say that sexism against women is pretty embedded in the dominant culture. But
if by sexism you mean men love women so much that they literally revolve their entire lives on attempting to get a woman to like them back, then yeah, sexism definitely is very prevalent in our culture today.
feel free to disagree. Socially, the idea that men are dominant and powerful and should be in charge is perpetuated basically everywhere. And on the flip side, femininity being associated with weakness is also heavily perpetuated.
Yep, that's absolutely true. It's not like there's this whole campaign called Ban Bossy where they try to get women into more leadership positions or anything like that. You know, it's not like they're trying to make the phrase "like a girl" become something of a compliment now. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. That's not true. That's not happening at all. You know, it's not like we have people like Connor Manning who say ridiculous shit like this.
Different gender roles applied to men and women, I would not be very successful at that. If all of a sudden I found myself time traveled back into the 1950s, being married with 2 kids, having to provide for the family, having to make all the decisions completely for everyone in the house, oh god, I would not do well at that at all. I'm shy, I'm passive, I'm definitely not good at making decisions for other people. That would be bad news bears. The family would fall the freak apart.
Other social institutions that keep women down do we also see? Sexualized violence, the objectification and dehumanization of women, victim blaming,
All of those things happen to men too.
and the fact that women can't walk to their cars by themselves at night because rape is a constant threat.
That's called paranoia. There is no reason for you to be afraid to walk to your car at night. Not unless, of course, you live in a bad neighborhood. And then at that point, it wouldn't just be women who's scared, it'd be everybody because you live in a neighborhood full of criminals. I mean, if you live in a nice neighborhood, there's no real reason to be paranoid that someone's going to rape you at every single moment of every day. Like, how do you walk outside the house when you're that scared?
Economically, women still earn between 77 and 85 cents to every man's dollar on average.
How many times does that have to be disproven? Okay, I'm going to tell this story one last time, just so it's on the record here. Before my mom and dad got a divorce, my mom and dad both worked at Citibank. And because my dad worked in the morning shift and my mom worked on the night shift, mind you, in the same exact job, the same exact position, my mom actually earned more money than my dad did. So, the pay gap thing, goodbye. Like, literally, they worked the same exact position in the same company, in the same building, in the same city. And my mom got more money. So, yeah.
Politically, there are currently 99 women in Congress out of 535 total seats. That means that only 18.5% of people in positions of political power are women.
What John Brown difference does it make? Women can only be in Congress if they compete to be in Congress. If women don't want to be senators, then they don't want to be senators. That's not sexism, that's just women choosing what they want to do in life. If only 99 women ran to become senators or a part of the House of Representatives, well then that's not systematic oppression, that's just them wanting to do what they wanted to do. So what if it's not balanced? It doesn't have to be balanced. I mean, let's say the roles were reversed and you had a majority of women in Congress. So, that just means that only 99 men wanted to become senators. It's not sexism.
It's almost impossible to discuss feminism without bringing up the idea of the patriarchy.
The patriarchy doesn't exist. How could the patriarchy exist if in just a second ago you just said 99 members on Congress are women? You would think a government that was trying to systematically oppress women would keep women from gaining political power, right?
The patriarchy is a social system in place that values masculine traits over feminine traits, and in which men are considered dominant to women. While the patriarchy negatively affects all genders, women get the short end of the stick.
Of course they do, because they have vaginas. They just, I mean, there's no evidence to support that, mind you, considering the fact that women actually get lots of privileges in lives for, I don't know, just being women, but I'll humor you. I'll humor you.
In this scenario being reality. Some people on the internet, particularly straight white middle class males, take this as an assault on men. It's not an anti-male sentiment, it simply points out that men systematically benefit because of their gender. However, that's not to say that men aren't negatively affected by the patriarchy.
You can't say that a system that was purposely created to benefit men at the same time is a detriment to men. Would that not defeat the purpose of the system itself? By definition, wouldn't that destroy the system itself? See, you just proved my point. Clearly there can't be a patriarchy if it's a detriment to men as well as women. If the patriarchy is detrimental to everybody, well then it's not a patriarchy by your stupid contrived definition.
A system that, by every account, should be benefiting them. Feminism opposes harmful gender roles and expectations that negatively affect men and women.
I hate when people bring up the whole gender roles are bad, man, because they never really give any explanation as to why gender roles are bad. I mean, gender roles created society itself, so I don't understand why people dislike them so much.
And by extension, anyone that doesn't fit perfectly into the male or female category. When men are told to grow a set, or to man up, or to stop acting like a girl, and basically aren't allowed to show any sort of emotion,
It's not really 100% true. I remember Sargon of Akkad made one really great point about masculinity. Masculinity isn't about repressing your emotions, it's about controlling them. It's about time and place with the way you feel. You can't always cry about stuff, and this is a lesson I had to learn personally growing up. You can't always cry about everything. There's a time and a place for everything that you do. You know, masculinity isn't about never crying or never shedding tears. It's okay to cry, that's fine. But I mean, when you're in the middle of, I don't know, you're in the middle of Walmart and your credit card got declined and you sit there and cry and hold up the line, yeah, you're being a punk. You need to get out the way.
that's something that feminism also opposes.
And that's why we get people like Connor.
Feminism opposes any sort of expectations put on men to be strong or macho, the breadwinner of the family, and to only like masculine activities. However, feminism doesn't see anything wrong with being or liking any of these things.
Except when it's traditional.
It just aims to give men and women and people of all genders the choice to be as masculine or as feminine as they want. But
Yeah, except we already have that. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. That just doesn't mean that people don't have their own opinions about what you do. If you want to go around and have sex, you can do that. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, you can do that. But people are going to have an opinion on what you do. But you have this choice to do what you want to do. Just because someone has an opinion or someone doesn't agree with your decisions doesn't mean that you don't have a choice to do it. I mean, we already live in that society, so I guess that means feminism isn't necessary anymore, right?
I should also add that even though feminism is beneficial to men as well as to women, its validity and its importance shouldn't be dependent on how useful it is to the male gender.
Except at no point in this video did you ever label not one scenario in which feminism is beneficial to men. In fact, now that I think about it, we're 3 minutes into your video and we have yet to answer the question, what about the men? So, I kind of feel like I've been cheated just a little bit.
Basically, feminism is not anti-male rights.
Yep, that's exactly why they were so much against the men's rights activist conference that happened just a couple of weeks ago. Totally not anti-men's rights though. Not at all. Not a little bit.
Focusing on racial issues of minorities is not a threat to white people in the same way that focusing on gender issues is not a threat to men. The goal is not to demonize men, but to better understand the social constructions that are in place that affect the way that both genders are perceived.
Yeah, that's a hunk of baloney. That's why I had to respond to Connor and Lacey Green and a couple other feminists here who did nothing but demonize masculinity. So, yeah.
Basically, women are not evil creatures trying to take away your rights.
I see what you did there. You meant to use the word feminist because not all women are feminists.
They're just trying to have the same opportunities that you do.
That is quite the appropriate username, I will tell you that. Well, that's the end of her video and subsequently the end of mine. So, guys, if you like this video, please go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comments below, and as always, have a great day. I'll see you cool guys soon. Adios.